Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 59 of the Red Pilled Orange Pill Investor. And it was one hell of a good week. So Bitcoin hit like 65, 63, one of those damn numbers. So, of course, MicroStrategy went through the roof. Holy shit, is it up after hours? Um, I had a good week. But it's funny. It's one of those frustrating weeks because I had the 720 call and I had to work some serious magic to not even have to sell these shares. Um, so if I didn't have a covered call on this week, I would have made like 30 or 25 grand or some shit like that. But so only made like 8. And it's frustrating, but it's just how, it's part of the process with this strategy. And I'm not really bothered by it. However, I did do something maybe stupid, I don't know. So I had the 720 call, but I didn't have enough buying power to roll all the way up to like 1050 or whatever 1100 that it is now. So these may end up getting exercised next week. So I was only able to roll up to like the 870 with the buying power that I had. And I thought, well, maybe if I can roll up, and I got paid 18 grand for that. There was a couple of thoughts on it. The price could come back down. But even if it doesn't, if I can afford to roll to 870 this week, maybe I'll be able to roll to to 9 something or 1,000 the next week, and then I'll be able to go back to rolling as per normal. It's possible I may have to actually add some money to this account, which is fine. I can pull some money from another account and move it over. It's not the end of the world, but I ended up selling all the HUT I had. I ended up selling all the Mara. I ended up selling basically all the Tesla, except these little piddly long options. And still barely had enough buying power. I actually had like $200 in buying power, and I went ahead and left my Tesla leaps, 2 option strategy, the poor man's covered call. But then I was like, that's just too nerve-wracking to have that low of buying power. If MicroStrategy dropped, $50 a share, which it can do in a split second, I would just have to deal with margin calls, and I didn't want the anxiety. So when I got rid of that too, so the only thing left in this account is MicroStrategy on margin. And yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to keep rolling up. I've never really done this before, but I was like, we'll see. We'll see if this made any sense in a couple of weeks. I will actually be on vacation next week, so I won't be recording at all. I'll be recording tomorrow and then won't record again for a week. Gonna have some fun in sunny Las Vegas, but it's going to be a little chilly, unfortunately. So I don't know if we're going to get any pool time, but we'd definitely be having some fun hiking, etc. And so, yeah, this was a weird one. I've never sold a covered call below the money. Like selling at like 10.25 or something would have been right at the money, and I have done that before. Usually when I purchase my initial stock, 100 shares of a stock, I'll sell very close to the money and get the biggest reduction in my cost basis as I possibly can right away. And then I'll start getting a little less greedy about it. But I like to get that initial big chunk. And because MicroStrategy is so volatile, That's why you can get so much premium on this right now, because it's very risky. At the money, you can get 7% return. So MicroStrategy will cost you 100 grand for 100 shares, not using margin. And you can get 7 grand at the money, which is basically 7%. You can go up and give some call away value, like 50% call away value would be like 1160-ish. You can get 5% and 5% call away value. That's pretty sick. This will change. This will drop back down again once MicroStrategy kind of levels off. But the implied volatility is what drives these prices. And when stocks make sharp moves, a lot of times their implied volatility will skyrocket. So at times like this, it's the best time to actually collect premium. And yeah, this is pretty ridiculous. Being able to collect this much premium and this much call away value at the same time. And again, just a reminder of why I am willing to sacrifice large amounts of money by selecting a strike is this Excel spreadsheet that I put together. So it doesn't matter what the value of the shares are. If you're buying $10 a share stock and you spend $1 grand, or $100 stock and you spend 10 grand, the principle is still the same. If you are getting 1% premium when you sell a covered call, so right now, if you only wanted to get 1% in MicroStrategy, you'd have to go all the way up to around the 1460. So MicroStrategy could basically go up 25%, more than that, probably like 30-35%, and still not exceed your strike. So you can get 1% guaranteed premium, and then even if MicroStrategy doesn't climb above 1460 or doesn't climb at all, you can still collect $1,000. And of course, I am taking a risk by using margin, so I'm technically getting double that. So I sold this covered call for like 7 grand, but I'm only risking 50. So it's like 10 or 15% return. However, the risk is that if MicroStrategy crashes and I get a margin call, then my entire account can get wrecked. So not financial advice, but just general life advice. Be careful. If taking certain risks is going to give you too much anxiety, then probably do something safer. Don't use margin. Don't. I did learn a bitter lesson of using too many leaps options when Tesla hit like 600 or 700 or something like that, and then crashed down to like 100 over that 6 month, 8 month, 12-month period, however long that took. And my long options got absolutely wrecked, and I basically gave back all of my winnings for like the past year. I gave it all back to the exchange in the next year. So I think I learned my lesson with that, but at the same time, I will still use it, but just not like the majority of my allocation would not be with foreman's covered calls or leaps. But the premium on MicroStrategy is pretty sick right now, hence why I didn't want to give up my shares. But cheaper stuff like Mara, let's just check. So if you bought 100 shares for $27.50, you can get almost $2 at the money, which, let's see, 1% would be 27 cents. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 7.5% return at the money. So if you only wanted 5%, that would be about $1.25-ish. So you could get $2, a little over $2 in call-away value at the 29.50 strike, which is almost 10%. So you could get almost 10% call-away value and still collect 5% guaranteed return. Yeah, pretty silly how much premium can be gotten from these. Right, it's probably similar. That's the other one that has a pretty good amount of liquidity. At the money, what is that, about 5, 50 and 20, a little more than that, maybe 6 or 7% at the money. And to get 10% call-away value, we'd have to add $1.50 to this, so $16. You could still get 3% return guaranteed with 10% call-away. Got rid of all my HUT, I believe. But let's check HUT options. This is the cheapest one. It's got decent liquidity now. Like the bid-ask spread here is actually just a penny. It's pretty good. So 6 times 9 is 73. 5 times 9, wait. Yeah, sometimes 6 times 9 is 54. So, yeah, 7 times 9 is 63. You can get about 7% at the money, even for HUT. So you don't have to have MicroStrategy to make this work. But you can give 10% call-away value up to the $10 strike and still have like 3.5% call-away, or sorry, 3% return on premium right here. 4-cent bid-ask spread here, so not amazing, but still liquid enough that I was trading it just fine. I mean, sometimes you have to move your buy or your sell up a penny or two. On extremely small accounts, that can hurt you. You know, that can really eat into your profit if you're only, if you're up here and you're only collecting 17 cents a week or something. And you think you're going to collect 17 and you have to sell it. You don't get a fill until you sell at 15, and then next week maybe you have to buy it back and you go up a couple pennies. So it really can eat into your profits when you have a small account. But some of the more expensive stocks, it really doesn't matter. But I think I got off track. So no matter how expensive the stock is, if you have 100 shares and you sell one covered call against it and you collect 1% premium, and as I just showed, it's pretty easy on some of these Bitcoin mining stocks to get 3, 4, 5, even 7% return at the money. I generally don't do that routinely because I want some call-away value. I want to profit also from the pump in the price. But you do that, you get paid 1%, you buy one share of the stock, and then now you have 101 shares. Next week, you sell a covered call, get 1% premium, you buy another share, now you got 2 shares. And it's going to take you Do I have the right chart? Yeah. So it's going to take you 100 weeks to get your second covered call. And then after that, you're going to be selling 2 covered calls a week. And if you're collecting 1% premium, then you're going to be buying 2 shares a week. So to get your next 100 shares, it's only going to take 50 weeks because you're getting 2 a week. 2 times 50 is 100. Then once you get another 100 shares, it's only going to take you 34 weeks to get 100. And then 25 weeks to get your next 100. And then 20 weeks to get your next 100. And then 17 weeks to get your next 100. Then it starts to slow way the frick down. And by the time you get down here, it only takes you 1 week to get your next 100. And then after that, you have 10,000 shares of whatever that stock you initially purchased to that. And I call this reaching critical mass because at that point, you're not just getting 1% premium, because with that 1%, you can buy another 100 shares, and then you're going to get 1% on the 1%. And that's when the calculation of your profits goes from just 1% a week. So if you get 1% a week for 52 weeks, you're going to get 52% profit that year. But if you're getting 1% on 1%, and you do that 52 times, now your profit is jumped from 52 to 67. You'll have 167%. 1.67 times your initial investment. And then, you do that another, if you do that for 2 years straight, 1.01, raise that to 104, you almost tripled your money in 2 years. And let's just see 5 years. 1.01 to, is it 560? 5 years times 52? No, 260. You're going to over 10x your money in 5 years. Now, of course, it took you 11 years to get there. But that's why I say it's reaching critical mass, because now your rate of return becomes exponential instead of just, I don't know if it's additive or cumulative, whatever. Of course, if you're getting 5% premium per week, it's much more accelerated. So you start with 100 shares. If you get 5% return, that means you can buy 5 shares. It only takes you 20 weeks to get there, to get to your second 100. And then it only takes 10 to get another 100, then 7, 5, 4, 4. That start to slow down, but it only takes 80 weeks, which is what, a year and a half, if you're getting 5% interest on some of these Bitcoin mining stocks. So a year and a half to get to critical mass, because you don't need 10,000, you only need 2,000. And then every week you can buy an initial, or you could buy an extra 100 shares, and the profits on that are insane. And like I was saying before, your bid-ask spread is not always just going to be a penny, and the price of the stock is going to go up and it's going to go down. And so there is friction in the system, and so this is just all hypothetical. This is not like a guarantee of what you're going to get. It's just hypothetical what is possible. And really this is even possible if the price of the stock never moves. If it just stays the same price, this works. It actually kind of works perfectly in that scenario. But leaving some callaway value actually allows the stock to be even worth more than when you started. So, if you bought in for 10 and then a year later it's 12 or 15, then you profit from getting these extra shares, but you're also profiting from the price going up. But once you start getting, 5% on 5% just for 52 weeks, you're going to 10x your account in 1 year if you're getting 5% premium. And you use the premium to buy another 100 shares every week, and then you get 5% on the 5%. So this is like pie in the sky, optimal, 5% return on premium is not that common. Like, the only reason it's common right now is because Bitcoin's price is fluctuating so much. These big surges and huge dips really plays havoc with the formula that they use to derive options prices. And volatility does not always equal higher implied volatility. Implied volatility is what generally drives the options prices, but it does usually follow. But then, every once in a while you'll see a chart of something that's very volatile and it'll just trade sideways for 6 months and then it'll get crazy again. I'm currently operating under the assumption of Plan B's. You can follow them on X or YouTube. But I'm using his stock to flow model as my base assumption, and I'm basically guessing like 100 to 150K Bitcoin, almost kind of like a base case. And generally, any of these assets will, they'll get a fever pitch, and then people will pay, they'll be undervalued, and then they'll be appropriately valued, and then at some point they'll be overvalued, but people are still paying that price, and eventually it'll just reach resistance and it'll come back down. And so if the fair market price of Bitcoin during this cycle is 100 or 150, it'll probably reach double that, and then during the bear market will come crashing down, 50 to 70%. So around October 2025, I will be looking to, take some profits and either pay off some of the leverage that I have now, or, whatever. Maybe it'll be time to change residences, move to a new state, etc. If Texas wins the Civil War, maybe if they're letting immigrants in. I wonder if they end up seceding. I guess it would be weird to think of people from Kentucky as being immigrants. So hopefully Texas immigration law will let somebody of my stature in, but I don't know if I'll be useful enough. I put on my application that I hodl Bitcoin. I don't know if that's going to put me to the head of the line. Then again, maybe it will. If Texas adopts a Bitcoin standard by then, that would be pretty fucking sweet. So, on that note, I will call it. Be good, y'all.